Hey guys, it's Michelle, and today I wanted to talk to you about being in university or college with a chronic disease, which for me is type 1 diabetes. Now, I have been in university for 9 years now, so I feel like I'm pretty qualified to talk about this subject. So I'm going to start off first by telling you guys my story and my experience in university with diabetes. Then I'm going to give you my top tips for dealing with diabetes in university and how to do well in school while staying healthy. So let's get started. Let's start off with my undergraduate degree. I did my bachelor's degree in physics, and it was seriously such an intense 4 years of my life. I was stressed out a lot of the time, and looking back on it, I was also miserable a lot of the time. I think it was that my degree, first of all, was really hard, but also at the time I really didn't know how to deal with stress well. I woke up in the morning, I started working, went to class, came home, worked until I went to bed at midnight, and then I woke up the next day and it all started again. I hardly took any breaks for myself, no me time, and I rarely exercised. So I exercised maybe once a week, if even, but most of the time I did zero exercise. My blood sugars in high school were pretty good. My A1C was in the 6s always, but then when I went to undergrad, they went up into the 7s. And I think this was a combination of, first of all, not exercising and also being stressed out all the time. However, when I was in undergrad, I did live at home with my parents, so I had the privilege of having healthy meals made for me, so that really helped me out. Now let's move on to the master's. For my master's degree, I specialized in medical physics, which is pretty much just applying my physics degree to medicine. So this was my first time moving away from home, so that was a little bit of a struggle. So I had to learn how to make all my own meals and balance my blood sugars with all the exams and assignments and stress. It was definitely a learning experience for me. Luckily, Rafi, who was my boyfriend at the time and is now my fiance, he lived in the same city that I did my master's in, so he was really great for helping me adjust to everything. I also had a roommate for 1 year before moving in with Rafi, so I made sure to let her know that I had type 1 diabetes and give her all of the information she needed in case there was an emergency. One thing that I really improved in my master's was making more time for myself and exercising more. So I made sure to take a lot of breaks from studying and from working, just because it was good for both my mental health and my blood sugars as well. So I started taking ballet in my master's randomly, and now I'm absolutely in love with it. I've been taking it ever since. I do 3 to 4 classes a week. It's absolutely incredible how exercise can change your mood. I can go into ballet class just feeling so stressed out and in a horrible mood, and I'll leave a completely different person. In my master's, my A1C ended up decreasing from the mid 7s into the high 6s, which was a really big improvement for me. And I think this was a combination of, like I said, just exercising more, taking more time for myself, and I also got a Dexcom at this time, so that really helped me look at my blood sugar trends and figure out my blood sugars more. And guys, guess what? When I ended up taking more me time to myself in my master's, it didn't affect my grades at all, so it's something that I really wish I would have done in my undergrad. And the last thing that I improved on in my master's was I got involved in the diabetic community. So I ended up connecting with a lot of type 1 diabetics over Instagram. This really helped create a support system for me. Now on to the big degree, the PhD, which I'm in right now. So I've had a lot of people ask me, why did you decide to do a PhD? And for me, it wasn't more of that question, it was more of, why not do a PhD? So my master's research was going really well, and both of my supervisors told me that I had great research potential and thought that I should do a PhD. However, there was one thing that was holding me back, and it was actually my diabetes. It wasn't that I didn't think I could control or manage my diabetes while being in a PhD, it was actually more of a financial issue. So at that point, I had already been in school for so long, and my university only covered some of my diabetes supplies, not everything, and they covered 0% of CGMs. I thought maybe a PhD isn't for me. I mean, it's an extra 4 to 5 years with very little pay and not very good health coverage, so I thought maybe I should get a job and just get good benefits so that I can get everything I need for managing my diabetes. So I went into a meeting with my supervisors. I was very open and honest with them. They saw where I was coming from, but they were very upset that I was letting an illness or a disease hold me back from doing something that I could excel at. And they really encouraged me to seek other funding and to just find a way to do it. And after this meeting, I felt very motivated. I applied for a lot of scholarships and I ended up getting a couple scholarships, which helped me a lot with paying for my supplies. I was also very fortunate that my parents helped me out with my Dexcom supplies as well. And here I am still. I'm still in my PhD 4 years later. It's almost been 4 years, so I'm hoping to finish up within the next year. All right, now let's move on to tips. So these are my top 5 tips for dealing with type 1 diabetes while in university. Number 1, avoid eating out or eating in cafeterias. I know this is tempting when you have so much due and you don't have time to eat, but it can be hard to know how much insulin to give yourself. Plus, these foods are usually not healthy. Give this video a thumbs up if you are interested in seeing some healthy and easy meal ideas for university. Tip number 2. Exercise multiple times a week. Like I said before, this has a huge impact on stress levels and mood. Just take an hour from studying and get active, and you'll be surprised how much it improves your mood and your blood sugars. Tip number 3, connect with other type 1 diabetics. It's so important to have other type 1 diabetics in your life since it can be a rather lonely disease. I would suggest finding other type 1s on Instagram to talk to or the Beyond Type 1 app, which I will actually be doing a video on very soon, so stay tuned for that. Tip number 4, look into getting some sort of CGM or flash glucose monitor. I realize that these systems are not accessible for everyone because they are quite expensive, but if you can, check to see if your insurance will cover one of these. I found that being able to see my blood sugar trends and seeing if my blood sugar was rising or falling was really helpful and gave me more independence because I wasn't as nervous being away at school. Tip number 5, let people know that you have type 1 diabetes and talk to people about it. This is very important for obvious safety reasons. Talk to your new roommates or people in your residence and you'll be surprised how interested others will be to learn about your type 1 diabetes. Just talk to them, or you can always show them one of my videos to explain. And that's it for all my tips for university, guys. I hope you enjoyed listening to my experience, and please never ever let any chronic illness hold you back from doing what you want to do. I know that I'm really glad that I did a PhD, and I'm so glad that I didn't end up letting diabetes get in the way. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!